This video will show you how to write conversion-optimized headlines with ChatGPT that get clicks every time. My name is Alex. I'm a digital marketer and copywriter with Lover Fighter Writer. And if you want to know how to craft headlines that convert like crazy with AI writing tools like ChatGPT while practicing your copywriting skills, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. If you find it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone else who you think could benefit from it. Now let's take a look at my screen and get into this ChatGPT tutorial. All right, here we are in ChatGPT. First, I'm going to show you how I came up with this process and how I just finished workshopping it a little bit to make it as effective and as easy to use as possible. Then I'll show you some live examples of how you can actually use this process to practice and improve your own copywriting skills and use your own brain in combination with the AI to write headlines that are way better than what the AI can do on its own. Now, this is my personal document of my favorite ChatGPT marketing prompts. There will be a link in the description of this video where you can get this for free. Just go to File and then click Make a Copy to copy it into your own Google Drive, or you can go to Download and choose the format that you want if you want to download it to your device. And while you're in here, if you like, you can use this link to join my Facebook group, or use this link to sign up for a content and copywriting consultation. So the complete prompt that we're working with today in its current version is write 10 conversion optimized headlines on the topic of insert topic here. Display them in a table where column A is the headline, column B is a score out of 100 based on how clickable they are, and column C is character count. Order the table with high scores first. Now, if you don't care how long your headlines are, then you can remove the part about the character count. For me, that's always important because I'm often writing headlines for YouTube or for my blog. And generally speaking, for SEO purposes, when you're writing a headline that will also be a SEO title, you want it to be 59 characters or less. That said, I typically like to allow the AI to generate ideas without limiting the character count. That's why I just ask it to show how many characters there are, not to limit it. And then as I move forward with rewriting and editing and rewriting my own headlines, I will create versions that are 59 characters or less. So we're going to start with a slightly earlier version of this prompt that I was using, and we're going to kind of go through how I was working with it and improving it. And so if you're someone who struggles with writing effective ChatGPT prompts, then you might find this process very helpful, because it'll show you how you can learn from what the AI is doing and write superior prompts that are going to be more efficient in getting what you want. So the one that I used initially here was actually for writing the headline for this video. And so I said, write 10 conversion optimized headlines on the topic of how to write high converting headlines with ChatGPT. Display them in a table where column A is the headline and column B is a score out of 100. So at this point, I didn't have the character count column. I added that later. And so it gave me 10 pretty good headlines. It looks like they all score 95 or higher. And of course, I could have just used any one of these headlines, or I could have told it to rewrite the ones that were scoring lower to make them score higher, or I could have asked it to try to rewrite the highest scoring ones to make them score even higher. Another thing that I like to do sometimes is ask ChatGPT to justify why it scored things the way it did, because it can provide some pretty interesting insights that way. But as promised, this process is also to teach you how to be a better. But as promised, this process is also designed to let you practice and improve your copywriting skills. So that's what I was doing here, where in my next message, I said, put these headlines in a table and score them for me. And I wrote my own headlines using a lot of the same keywords and structures as I saw up here. So these are the ones that I wrote, and it put them in this table, and it changed the table a little bit. It added a justification column, which was just kind of a reminder that if you're not precise in your prompts, then sometimes ChatGPT will give you things that you're not expecting. And so my highest scoring headline that I wrote was how to write click-worthy headlines in seconds with ChatGPT. And my next highest scoring one was write headlines that sell in seconds with ChatGPT, which was basically just a shorter version of one that it wrote up here. So then I asked it to replace the justification column with a character count column, and it did so. And then I said, put all the headlines, mine and yours, that scored 96 or higher in a table. And I forgot that I was using the same conversation as I had been workshopping this prompt with earlier. And so it put a whole bunch of headlines from other topics in here, but this one that scored 99 is actually a really good example of how this process works. Because in this case, I was using ChatGPT to workshop headlines about earning passive income while you sleep. And so I was having it write a bunch of headlines about that, but it was having trouble scoring higher than like 96 or 97. And so that's when I started writing my own headlines using the same ideas. And instead of saying earn passive income while you sleep or earn while you sleep, I changed it into a personal anecdote and said, I slept in and earned $100 before noon. Here's how. And it really liked that one. That's the highest score. I don't think it's ever given any headline a score of 100 out of 100. So 99 is pretty good. And I actually really like that headline. I like headlines that are a little bit tongue-in-cheek and that use personal anecdotes, but that still communicate the same value as a more obvious typical headline. And so then with my next prompt, I just corrected that. I said, make a table with only the headlines related to headline writing and put the top scores first. And so I had this with the top two being how to write click-worthy headlines in seconds with ChatGPT and how to write headlines that convert like crazy, ChatGPT guide. And you can see this one is just a couple characters too long, but this one is right on the money. And then I wrote some more headlines on my own and said, put these in a similar table. And I got one that scored 98 and was under the character count, which was write click-worthy headlines in seconds, ChatGPT guide. And then I decided to try something different, which was use the above as inspiration to write 3 headlines on this topic that score 98 plus. And so of course, this time I didn't tell it to put them in a table, so it did not put them in a table. So then I had to say, put them in a table with the highest score first. And so now we have one that scores 99, which is write click-worthy headlines instantly using ChatGPT, boost sales fast, but this one was over the character count that I wanted. Then we have a few that scored 98. And then I said, rewrite the top 4 headlines to make them 59 characters or less. And then I had to remind it to include the scores. And so then I got to here where I've got 3 headlines that all scored 98 and one that scored 97 that are all right around 58, 59 characters. And I haven't completely decided which one I'm going to use yet, but it will almost certainly be one of these or some variation of one of these. And then I decided to test the current version of the prompt after I had put these considerations into it with a different topic. So one of the topics that gets a lot of traffic on my YouTube channel and my blog is private label rights or PLR content. And so I'm always making pins for Pinterest and social media posts about that to drive more traffic. And so that's the one I used here. I said, write 10 conversion optimized headlines on the topic of best PLR websites and products of 2024. Display them in a table where column A is the headline, column B is a score out of 100 based on how clickable they are, and column C is character count. So that was almost the current version of the prompt, except I forgot to include asking it to put the high scores first. So it did so. And then I said, rewrite the headlines that score under 96 so they score higher and reprint the table. And it did so. And then I said, rewrite or replace any headlines that score under 97. And it got them there. And then I asked it to rewrite the headlines to make them 59 characters or less. And for some reason, I had to ask it to do this twice. You can see here, I asked it to do that, and then it still made most of them too long. And then I said, rewrite them to be 59 characters or less, and it got it right this time. And then I decided to do the same thing using a different keyword that technically refers to the same thing. So private label rights products are digital products that you can resell. So I redid the command, but instead of using PLR websites and products as the topic, I said resell digital products as the topic. And it came out with some more interesting things that I liked a bit more this way. And then I just gave it the same command again, but I added all headlines should be 59 characters or less. And so it more or less accomplished that. It looks like it had one that was 60 here, but the rest were 59 or less. And then I decided to try asking it to include certain keywords, which are sometimes used in association with things like passive income. So I said, include at least one of the following keywords in each headline. And it was lazy, sleep, slept, automatic, automated, autopilot, passive. And it definitely came up with some more interesting ones here. But a lot of the time when I ask it to do something more complex like this, I don't like the way that it phrases things. So for example, this top headline is the only one that scored 98, and it's the correct character count. And I can see why it gave it a high score, but it says resell digital products on autopilot for passive income today. And I just don't really like the way that's phrased with the word today at the end is kind of the thing that sounds weird to me. Now, technically, grammatically, it makes sense, but it just doesn't sound like the type of thing that a human would say. And obviously, that's one of the issues of using ChatGPT. So now, right before I wrap up this video, let's try rewriting a few headlines of our own and see if I can meet or beat the scores that ChatGPT gave itself. So you can word this prompt a number of different ways. This time I just said display these headlines in a similar table with top scores first. And I'm just going to use the top 3 scoring headlines from this table, and I'm going to rewrite them a little bit to make them sound better to me as a human. And what I'm going to try and do is to make them sound better, to make them kind of more colloquial and more humanized while still retaining a similar or higher score. We'll see if I can do that. All right, that took a bit longer than I was expecting, partially because it was challenging to come up with some really effective headlines that used few enough characters, but I did manage to get one that scored a 98 with only 55 characters. And interestingly, the character count was broken for a while. I had to kind of go back and forth with ChatGPT a little bit in order to figure out why it was giving me inaccurate character count, but I think I managed to get that sorted out. And now I have 2 headlines that score 98 and 2 that score 97. And the only one that is within my 59 character limit is resell digital products on autopilot for passive income. But if I really wanted to put a bit more time into it, I could reorder or rephrase or do a couple different things to shorten these ones and probably maintain the same score. But I just wanted to demonstrate that for you. I might remove the character count part from the prompt because of this issue that it's having where it doesn't always count them correctly. So I think I am going to remove that from the prompt, but you can always put it back in if you want to. Just make sure that you double check yourself if you're relying on it to count the characters for you. And let me know in the comments if you found this helpful or if you had any really interesting experiences with it. Please subscribe to the channel so that you'll see my new videos when they come out. I hope to talk to you in my Facebook community. And now I will say so long until my next video.